This is by far one of the coolest things that I have picked up lately. It is a G.I. Joe Mega Block set. Now, back in the day, Hasbro toyed around with the idea of Built to Rule and Creo. Those lines didn't go very far. Creo went further than Built to Rule, but they were trying to do building blocks, their own in-house building block set. Now I feel like we've hit the big league. We've actually got a G.I. Joe set from one of the major construction block companies. Now, of course, Gold Star, in my opinion, is Lego, but these are pretty cool little, can I call them minifigures or small figures? Let's call them small figures. These are really pretty cool, and I think I like these better than the Lego style minifigures for G.I. Joe. At least these look more G.I. Joe-ish. Anyway, we got the Skystriker versus the Cobra Hiss. And one thing I want to point out that I think is really interesting, down in the bottom left corner, it does say 17 plus only. So apparently this is not for kids. They don't want kids building this. They want someone who can go to a rated R movie and older to be able to build the 617 pieces. So that's kind of fun. It does say collector building set up there. If you look at the packaging, it's kind of neat because there's a lot of reminiscence to the old 80s style packaging where they had the black, red, and white. You even have the black, red, and white logo over here, but you got the designs on red background, which is pretty cool. On the back, again, it continues over that same black, white, red pattern, except for the little color picture up in the top right corner. But yes, all very reminiscent of those old packages. I do kind of find it a little bit funny that we have red, white, red stripes, and the red star. It's kind of a little bit of a funny look. But anyway, yeah, we got little picture images of each set on the sides, and that's about it. So in this video, I'm not going to actually build these sets. As soon as I disappear and come back, I'm going to have the sets all built, and we're just going to talk about them, look at them, look at the figures and everything. If you want to see me build these actual items, then I'll put up a separate video. I'm going to record me building them, and I'll probably throw up a different video. I don't know if I'll talk or anything, but I'll throw up a different video. Beyond that, let's take a look at these vehicles and figures. Here we have everything out of the box and assembled. The Hiss didn't take terribly long to put together. The Skystriker, on the other hand, took a lot of time. I'd probably say over an hour to put together. And I've got a few issues with this Skystriker. There was a few issues here and there. Overall, I think this is a pretty cool set. This is very nice. I don't think you're going to be doing a lot of play with it. You're not going to be down on the floor, maybe with your kids, playing with it, or maybe you're down on the floor playing with it. This is probably going to end up being kind of like a display piece on your shelf, which is just fine, but I still want a lot more of these. I want as many as Mega Bloks or as Mattel will make for us. But anyway, let's jump in here, and I'm going to show you the size of the Skystriker. I gotta be really careful. It likes to fall apart in places, so let's set you off to the side here. So the Skystriker is, well, it's good size. It's a nice big airplane right there. The wings do open and shut. I like that feature. There's a little gear mechanism inside there that the teeth are up against, and so when you move one, you're moving both of them. And here's one of the problems I have right there. These missiles on the bottom, they fall off way too easy. All of them have a single point of connection. And what I mean by that is, well, to take it off, so you can see right there, there's that one little piece. And so they're constantly, look at that. If you're someone who needs straight missiles on something, they're all kind of wonky because they like to keep turning. And so if you want to keep things straight, it's not going to stay straight. It'd be cool if they would have had 2 points of connection instead of just one. And when you pull them off, they're in there so tight that typically it's kind of, you pull off the entire mechanism at the same time, and then to try to push it back on there. I'm going to get through some of the negative, like right there, this thing just, it fell off. There are several points that are very, they needed to be sturdier, and I think for an $80 set, this should have been sturdier in some spots. So if you're going to be handling this plane, just know things are going to be kind of wonky. Like back here, like, yeah, there we go. It fell off again. So back here, like this thing just comes right off. It only has two kind of small points of connection. And this is a fairly good sized piece just to be hooked there. So they come off really easy. Another thing that comes off really easy are these tail wings. They just pop right off, and so you got to like really push them in. Now the biggest problem I have, I'm trying to get through the negatives first. The biggest problem I have are these front wing connection points. So if you can see right there, I'm pointing it out now, this continuously separates this section and separates from this lower section. And it's constantly wanting to come off. And I've tried every way I can think of. Every time I push it on, it pops right off. There's another missile, go away. There's another piece that just fell off. Every way I've tried to reassemble this, it just likes to pop off. And there's another missile falling off because of the way it's being handled. This side is the exact same way. There's a separation right up here. And it doesn't really matter how much I push on it. If it does actually hold, it doesn't hold for very long. And I've taken this apart and I've reassembled it, and it just won't. It won't. You'd have to glue this thing. It's like it's bowed up. I don't know how well you can see. I'm trying to aim it straight on there for you. But yeah, it bows up or something. And the pieces don't bow. And so I'll take this wing off. When I hook it on just up here, so I don't know how well this is going to be visible on camera, but it pops off. They don't connect very well. At least here. The rest of it connects just fine. Everything works except for these wing pieces. If I just push this side down, it pops right off. So there's a disconnect between this piece and these pegs right there, which is very annoying. So you're going to have the I don't know, please tell me if you have this set and you put it together, do you have this experience? Because I only have my set to go off of. The idea is really cool. I really like this, and I really want it to work really well. It even has some callbacks to, remember back on the old Skystriker, you had the little thing, the little button that would move back and forth to open and close the wings. Well, they recreated this in just a plate, just kind of a painted piece. It doesn't really work, it's there, and that's kind of neat. There's these touches. You've got these really nice painted, there are no stickers on this at all. Everything you see is printed on the pieces. One funny thing is, they didn't paint it in here. These, I would have thought would have been black, but they're not. So the wheels seem to hold on pretty well, and you can roll it around. It rolls around pretty nice. But as you can see, I've got a lot of pieces now just laying around because they don't hold on very well. I'll see if I can even put this piece back on. Problem is, because of how these connect, when you try to hook these pieces on, you end up tearing the plane apart because it pushes that piece apart like so. So I think I better get away from the Skystriker before I say some more negative things about it, because once you get this thing set, you're going to probably want to just set on a shelf and look at it from afar and think, how pretty, how cool does that thing look? I'm never touching it again. But as I said, I don't know. I'm only going off of my experience with this airplane. I don't know what yours is like. Maybe I'm unlucky and I got one that just is poor, but maybe yours is going to be better. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your experience in the comments. Please tell me your thoughts and experiences in the comments. I'd love to know that this is actually not this way for everybody, because what'd I just do? I tapped something and the whole thing fell off when I tapped it. So yeah. Anyway, so let's move on to the Hiss. For what this is, I think this is actually pretty neat. You've got a nice rotating turret up here, and it doesn't pop out like the old Hiss does, the actual G.I. Joe Cobra Hasbro Hiss. It's pegged in there, so you can't pull it out. The guns will go up and down, and they don't fall off to do it. You can actually up and down them. You've got a nice little painted piece here that indicates controls. Oh, that was something on the Skystriker I didn't like. There was some innards of the cockpit that weren't painted, so you didn't have a screen to fly the plane. There wasn't a control center inside the plane. It was just blank. So I forgot to mention that. I didn't show the canopy, I don't think, lifting up either, but the cockpit canopy opens up, so the Hiss canopy also opens up. This is more angular as opposed to the rounded one. I'm okay with that. This isn't too bad. You've got nice rubber and treads that actually move. The only thing is, they're not going to just move. This is doing nothing. You have to actually push down and you have to really push to make them actually move. So it's a nice idea, and this is something everybody has struggled with. Built to Rule, Creo, everyone has struggled with getting these treads on the vehicles to move. They don't just easily move, and I think it's just because of the nature of the rubber and the wheels and the pressure. It makes, pulling these pieces, they don't have a lot of freewheel to go. I like the 788. All these there's not stickers, all these things that you see, the colors, the graphics are all printed on. That's printed on, the 788's printed on, 363. All these pieces are printed on. It's a cool little build. So it's easier for me to show you this. One thing I do find a little bit negative is there's no real platform inside the turret. So if you've got a figure and you set them in there, that looks pretty cool. I think that looks about the right height. Sticking out, being able to control that stuff. But if you, let's say, open the arms, then he'll like slide down that far. And so there's like nothing in there to hold them up. And once they get down in there, you got to try and get them out because the feet get stuck. So yeah, you want to try and keep them up if you can so they don't fall down in there. And I tend to like bend the arms just a little bit and kind of do that, and that will help hold the figure up. Figures fit in here. You have to move the turret, of course, to open the canopy. Cobra Hiss driver. It's a very narrow just a little slot. Again, he doesn't have any controls or anything in here. It's just an open spot. You just put the figure down in. Once you get the figure in, you got to get those legs put together though. Once you get the figure in there, then you can shut the canopy. And you've got your driver driving the Hiss tank without a steering wheel and without any joysticks or controls or any readouts whatsoever. That's all right, though. At least you can see it. If you had too much stuff in here, you wouldn't be able to see the driver. So let's take a look at the figures since we've got the figures right here. So we'll start off with Hiss driver. And these are actually really cool. I don't have any experience with Mega Bloks sets or Mega Bloks figures, so this is kind of new to me. These are really cool little minifigures. The head rotates around. It's on a ball joint. You can pop it off to see right there. Quite a bit of this figure pops apart. You can take the arms off. They're just on a little rotation. The arms rotate all the way around. You can lift the arms up that high. The elbow has a hinge and rotation. It's about 90 degrees right there. There's even rotation on the little wrist. There's a slight rotation at the waist. If you want him to do the splits, they can go about that far. And if you want him to sit, well, you could see earlier, he sat really well. In fact, he has hinge at the knees. Turn his head back, and you can see he can sit almost at a 90-degree angle. The feet do rotate, I believe. Well, maybe on this figure they don't. The Duke figure, the ankles rotated. I'm not sure if that... Let's get Cobra Commander over here. Yeah, Cobra Commander's feet, the ankles rotate back and forth. So otherwise, I'm surprised this figure doesn't have rotating ankles, but that's okay. They come with these figure stands, little Mega Bloks figure stands with their name on it. You can hook them on. They've got massive feet pegs, building block feet pegs. You can peg them right on there, so you can easily display them on your shelf if that's what you want to do. Cobra Commander has something interesting about him after I peg him on. So he's really cool. I like the bright, vibrant blue and the red. It looks very colorful. And a very nice, shiny helmet, I think. I think it looks pretty good there. So we'll turn him around, and as you can see, he's got the typical indentation for his gun. And there's also a big hole. That would be for like a backpack. So he comes with his gun, and there are definitely pegs sticking out of the sides of the gun. However, when you go to put the gun there, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. That's because they didn't indent this hole, like, at all. There's no indentation to slide that gun in. So I don't know if this is just a recreation or an attempt at a recreation of the original 1980s figure, and that wasn't really an idea. Let's put the gun there. I don't know. Let's just copy it, but let's not make it useful. So he can't put his gun on his back. Like, you're going to have him hold the gun, or you're going to have to put the gun somewhere else. That's fine. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, I guess. It's just kind of funny to recreate this portion of the figure, but not make it functional. So he's got all the same points of articulation as well. I like these figures. I really like these figures. I think they're so cool. I'd like to have like every G.I. Joe in these types of figures. I think this would be fun. This is not my main line, but I think it would be fun. So here we have Ace, and you can tell it's Ace because it says so right there on his base. They all have their names. His helmet comes off. And it's really funny because he has a hole in his helmet, or a hole in his head. That's because there's a peg at the top of the helmet to help hold it on when it's there. He has all the same points of articulation as well. In fact, he has like this overlay. We'll pull this off. You can see what it looks like. It's not the easiest thing to pull off. You have to make sure you snag it just right. Maybe the head has to be off. Oh, maybe that's it. There we go. So he does have this overlay that makes him AC, I guess, because he's a fairly generic looking figure, chest-wise, torso-wise. Beyond that, just clips on right over that, and then he looks more like an Ace figure. We'll pop the head back on. So that's kind of neat. And that part, this arm, I've had some rough problems with the G.I. Joe side of things. His arm, right arm, likes to fall off quite a bit. I'm going to be contacting Mega Bloks to see if they fix or replace things, because I'm going to need a few things replaced with these figures. And so then we come to Duke. He has probably the most accessories here. He's got a gun, which is kind of a Duke-like gun in block form, and he's got a backpack, which does come off. Pegs right onto the back, like so. And he's got a helmet that does pop off. He's got a hole in his head so he can hold that helmet on. So, just like so. So he's got like the most. I'm not sure if the bandolier comes off. I kind of think it might. Let's just try that real quick. I've been kind of curious. We'll pop the head off. Ball jointed head. Yeah, the bandolier will come off as well. So you could take his bandolier off, and he's more of a generic, like a green shirt type of guy if you wanted some green shirt Legos, because, you know, let's pay $80 to get some green shirts, right? I don't know. Maybe, you know, there's a Skystriker. You could have multiple Skystrikers. You could have multiple Hiss tanks. You don't really need multiple Cobra Commanders or Aces, but, you know, get the idea. But that's kind of neat. He's got the most things that you can remove from him. His articulation is really good as well. Now, I have a special problem with my figure, and that is, I'm not really sure exactly how this happened, but sometimes you'll get like 2 left feet or 2 right feet or something like that. Well, these legs are made of like an upper leg, a foot, and a lower leg. Well, somehow I got the opposite middle lower leg. I have the right upper leg and the correct foot, but this has somehow been, they gave me 2 left lower legs right there. And as I said, I'm not quite sure how that happened, so I'm gonna have to contact them and get a new figure, because this actually is his knee back here, and this is actually the back of the knee right here, the way they've got it. Because you can see, based off of this side, this is the knee, and this looks identical to what's back here on this figure. It's very strange. I just got a messed up figure, so I'm not really sure exactly how that happens. Poor Duke, he's got a backwards knee. We'll put him back on this figure stand where he came from. And so that's the figures. So overall, I like the idea of this. I really would love to see more sets. They need to refine this process. As I said earlier, I'm not real familiar with Mega Bloks. I don't know exactly how the Halo, the Masters of the Universe, Call of Duty, all those things have been going all this time. But it feels like for an $80 set that should be probably a little bit more collector oriented. This did say 17 plus after all. This is definitely not for kids, but something that's a little bit more collector oriented, a little bit more expensive at $80, I think shouldn't have the problems that these are having. I know people can say, hey, I'm nitpicking, but is it really nitpicking to expect that the blocks all, maybe not most, like, hey, 98% or 97% of things hook together just fine. Great. Why can't I want 100% of blocks to stick together? I don't know the last time I bought a Lego set where I had some blocks that kind of just didn't want to. For whatever reason, they're bent, they're popping apart. I don't think that's unreasonable to want that. One thing here real quick, I almost forgot to mention, and that is the color of these white bricks. As I was putting this together, and it's going to be really difficult, I think, to show on the video here, but I noticed that their white isn't actually consistent. Down through bits and pieces here, like, for example, I can see this one. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but this no-step square flat piece is a slightly more kind of off-white compared to this. This looks more white. And so these two have like a different look. And there's even some through here that have slightly different white colors. Or this has a white, this is like more white, but these two here are a little bit darker white. There's just, you see the inconsistencies in this white color, which I think is kind of funny, that why aren't they all the same white color? And I also see, like, when you look through here, and I've built lots of Lego sets, so it's not just my problem, but like looking through here, I see these gaps in the blocks, and I've tried my best to really squish these things down hard, and if I squish too hard, it breaks other pieces off. The Hiss went together really well, and I'll be honest, it took a long time to build this Skystriker. Things kept falling apart, breaking off. That's almost appropriate timing. They keep popping off, and so like I said, you build it and you put it on a shelf and you admire it and you think it looks cool, and I do. I think this looks really cool, and if I'm going to display it, it's great. Here's the cockpit going up. I can't remember if I actually showed it to you. I'm gonna real quick here pop Ace in. Oh, here's something else I'll point out in a minute I think is kind of odd. They're really and truly copying the toy at this point. And Duke, it's really cool. Duke can fit in the cockpit, or in the back seat, with all of his gear. At least I got him in there earlier. Just have to get him situated correctly, and he can actually hold all of his gear in there. So another thing that's a little bit funny, let's see if I can zoom in on this. So if you can read the side here, I hope that's clear. This is Lieutenant Wayne Ruthell and Captain J. Brad Armbruster, B-R-U-S-T-E-R. I have to look to see if that's actually Bruster on the original packaging, but I didn't think it was Armbruster. Anyway, so I find it funny that Duke is sitting in Wayne's seat, failsafe seat. We should have got a failsafe instead of Duke, but I know why they put Duke in there. So, but yeah, Armbruster. I don't know, it just kind of sounds funny to me at the moment. Maybe I'm just having a memory lapse of G.I. Joe names. But, oh, the other thing I was going to show you while we're zoomed in here, I mentioned a little bit ago, talking about the Hiss, how there's like zero, there's absolutely like no painted console pieces in here whatsoever. So it's like just black. There's like no, I don't even know what's in an airplane. So like there's no joystick, there's no knobs, there's no nothing on a painted piece. It's very actually a pretty plain cockpit if you look inside here. I'm not looking for like a ton of detail, but again, if this is a higher end collector's set, you'd think there'd be a little bit more to it in here. I don't know, maybe I'm expecting way too much from Mega Bloks. Honestly, Mega Bloks has always been, at least in my opinion, y'all who collect Mega Bloks sets will, I'm sure, are going to dislike what I'm about to say, but has always been like, you know, the lower quality Lego. Like, they've never ever really been quite up to Lego standards. I know they're doing lots of cool things. They have lots of licensed properties now, but I've always seen them still as kind of like, if I want real building blocks, I'm going to go for Lego. And so I was really hoping with this G.I. Joe set that this could prove me wrong. Like, no, they have stepped up their game big time. Big time. And I'm just, I don't see it. I don't see that this is a big step up, big time. So maybe that's just me. Maybe I've been nitpicky, but I feel that I need to at least address what I'm seeing on my sets, because maybe you are, and maybe some of you will say, hey, no, this is not how it is. These pieces fit together fine. The missiles don't fall off. I don't see any discoloration. You know, maybe some of this stuff isn't a big deal because it's just mine. But anyway, I hope this helped you out. I hope you found this interesting to watch. Just so you know, I'm not going to be posting the build videos as of right now, because that's like several hours to watch, and I don't know if any of you have the patience to watch several hours of me trying to build. and get frustrated as the Skystriker falls apart as I build it. So, oh, real quick though, for anyone who builds bricks, it does come with extra pieces. So Cobra Hiss is over here, and the Skystriker pieces, there are a few extra pieces that you could do something with or whatever you might need. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.